What up?
Another day, another stream. It's game week, final game week of 2023, unfortunately.
Finish
Yeah,
strong.
you got to finish strong, exactly. How's Christmas? We can start there.
Pretty good.
It
Pretty
didn't
good.
suck.
No, it was cold on Christmas Day. Good Lord, it's not been very cold in Oklahoma. It seems like, other than one cold snap in November, but it got freezing cold and rain, and about it. What you guys
Well,
do?
it's
Do you guys
cold.
get any cool presents?
We got 2 Miami wins. The Fish look good. Dominated the Cowboys. Then the
Dominated.
Heat. Then the Heat won. So I mean that was pretty good.
Dominated.
Yeah, and your little Patty Mouth also got a win over there on Christmas Day, or was that Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve. Unfortunately, I didn't necessarily. I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. I wanted them to win, of course, but at the end of the day, I guess if Belichick's got to win a couple games to keep his job, I'm willing to let him win a few games because I do not want him fired.
Yeah, I think that would be crazy if they did.
It would be insane.
He can come be a defensive analyst in Norman if he gets fired in New England.
Yeah, or he'd probably become the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Honestly, that'd probably be the most attractive job. But
That seems like the most likely spot.
Yeah. Jeremy said his Christmas sucked. Were you hanging out with Brandon? Was
I
that
bet
the
it did.
problem?
I think it's because the 49ers got pounded by 107.
Oh, they did. They did. That was something else.
I think that was surprising. I thought that was going to be, a really, really good game. Baltimore came ready to play.
I was hopeful. That was the game I was really looking forward to. I was like, man, I can't wait for that game. And then they got punched in the mouth. And
Thanks, San Francisco.
I wanted the Niners to win too because it would have been very beneficial to the Dolphins. But
except you're probably going to get clapped this weekend by the Ravens.
Oh, Jacob, you're a good guy.
Christmas came a day late for Jacob.
Yep, that's our bad, and a few minutes late. Internet issues, but we got them fixed. Hopefully.
Oh, Jerry, who wins in a fight?
I'm picking me.
I tend to agree. Jerry's a lover, not a fighter.
We'll see if Jeremy chimes in.
In unrelated sports news, the Pistons just set an NBA record for most consecutive losses.
I mean, what do you think the Pistons will win 10 games this year?
I couldn't try.
Losing 27 times in a row is... I don't even know how that's possible.
No. All right. Thunder OU Sooner. T-Boomer. They're saying that we didn't get Chris McClellan from Florida. That OU is broke, and they say Missouri owns OU.
I mean, we can start there if you want. I guess that's some recent news. Decommit today, this morning, yesterday. I honestly don't remember.
I saw it today.
Yeah. It's not, I don't know. Obviously, it sucks. And Oklahoma definitely wanted McClellan. But I don't think they were willing to pay the price that that Missouri was willing to open up the Brinks truck for. And they're basically pulling an A&M. And I think at the end of the day, what OU said is you're worth X amount of dollars. Take it or leave it. And we're not going to bend the knee for you. You can go play at Missouri. And and that's fine. And I really think that's what it ultimately went down to. I mean, I think he got more money, and it always seemed like, his first recruitment, first go around, it always seemed weird, and it just seemed like it just wasn't going to be OU. And this felt like for a little bit that there was a chance for OU, but it just never felt like he, even being from Tulsa or Owasso, that he was going to end up a Sooner. There's a dollar amount, and OU could have gone north of it if they wanted to, but they chose not to because they're waiting for potentially someone else, and before they go all in on someone. And honestly, is Chris McClellan really the difference of whether Oklahoma wins a national championship or not? No. So what difference does it make? I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to add him, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing exactly what A&M has been doing. Didn't work out for A&M. I don't think it's going to work out for Missouri. I do think Chris McClellan's a good player, and I wish he would have got him, but it's to say they own us is ridiculous.
They just want to be our little brother. I mean, still haven't played us in how long? Over a decade, and they haven't achieved much. This is their highlight of the last, I don't know, probably ever. But that, I mean, good for them, I guess. We're just not. No one's gonna just go out there and pay an absurd amount of money. I think what would be interesting, and I don't really think it will ever happen, and I guess it can be up to debate if it should or shouldn't. But if these numbers ever become public knowledge, like NFL contracts are, where it gets tweeted out basically when they sign, it's for X amount of dollars over however many years. Because if these college contracts start to come out, then you can really see, all right, this school is overpaying. Let's see if it gets any type of success. Because you guys both mentioned it. Eric said it. I tweeted out a couple weeks ago on the Two Plane Sports account. Like we saw what A&M did, and we're seeing how quickly it's going to shit because one guy, the main recruiter, left. So if it's a main recruiter that could go away from the Missouri program, for a different job or head coaching position, what have you, then it's going to go just as quickly down the drain as A&M's did, regardless of that bag. Because as we've said it multiple times, these kids will get paid wherever they go. Mizzou is just a place that's paying more than anyone should.
And as far as Missouri fans and stuff and Twitter, I mean, at the end of the day, Missouri, they're winning. They're trying to win the off season. They've had their best season this past year that they've had in a very, very long time. I mean, we're talking back with Blaine Gabbert, that and Chase Daniel type length of time. So they're feeling good about themselves, and that's fine. I will say OU fans on Twitter are very vocal as well and very passionate, and they have won twice against OU going head to head, or I guess three. I mean, they've done well against OU's recruiting three times now. I mean, they've got William Swinery, Caden Green, and now you get Chris McClellan, and so they're chirping, and obviously people are engaging them, and that's fine. I mean, but all I have to say is, I mean, at the end of the day, OU has as many SEC championships as Missouri as we sit here today. So What does that tell you? And how many years have they been in the SEC? 10? I think it's been 10. I can't remember.
Quite some time. It's more than Oklahoma has.
Yeah. So I don't really engage with them, obviously. It's just a waste of time. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to play them. And I think this year's matchup will be a good one. There's going to be a lot of storylines going into that game.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think it'll be interesting because their best part of their team, next year will probably be their offense, because I believe their quarterback comes back. Luther Burden will still be there. I don't know if he always has an eligibility, and if he does, if he returns, they're good offense. I think they're losing their running back, though, who was the top rusher in the SEC, I believe, in yards. Either way, they have a lot of good pieces coming back on their offense, and Oklahoma's got basically everyone coming back on the defense, losing a couple of senior guys because of graduation, but you don't really, those are guys that you feel, and it seems like the team feels can be replaced in their production. So it'll be two good units going against each other, and then their defense will probably be just as new as our offense, but we're replacing a quarterback. So that's going to be the storyline for Oklahoma. Assuming that, things have gone well, it'll be, Missouri's a hot team. How can this Oklahoma quarterback do against them?
It'll be interesting. Best of luck to Chris McClellan. Best of luck to Missouri. At the end of the day, they're chirping like they're becoming the next Oklahoma State. They're becoming quite loud and just chirping, just like Texas A&M to Texas, and basically, Daddy's home. And we're going to renew this, yearly game, so it'll be good. I'm curious. This is a good question from Robert. Do you guys think that the SEC is as strong as the experts say / think, or do you think the SEC is more top heavy? Bama, Georgia.
It's been top heavy forever.
Before we answer that, we're 12 minutes in when we haven't done a plug, so make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Throw a comment, throw in some questions in here. As we go through here, we'll answer more like Robert's here. Continue, Brandon.
They've been top heavy for years. And Bob Stoops called it out, and then Oklahoma went and beat the hell out of them in a bowl game with Trevor Knight beating Alabama. Alabama's carried the conference forever. Now Georgia seemed to be carrying them for the past couple seasons. Alabama's back, not that they ever really fell off. But outside of Georgia, Alabama, you had the 1 year where LSU had maybe the greatest college football team ever assembled. But really, outside of those three teams, and really just two consistent, being really dominant in Georgia and Alabama, they've not been like, you can't tell me Mississippi State is better than Texas Tech consistently. You can't tell me that Vanderbilt is better than Kansas consistently. You can't tell me that Iowa State can't go beat some of these mid-tier SEC teams. Like it's better at the top, no doubt. Alabama and Georgia are really, really good. LSU has their moments. Missouri seems like they're building something or whatever, but for the most part, I mean, I don't think that it's. You can tell me Iowa State can't beat Kentucky. It's I think it's very much top heavy.
I agree on both sides. Like, there's a little bit of both, I think. I mean, at the end of the day, the SEC right now, as it sits, it's a 14-team league. Or 2, 4. Yeah, it's a 14. I was just making sure I wasn't going crazy. 14-team league. Bama and Georgia obviously have been dominant Bama's, like you said, forever. And then Georgia in the last 5-6 years or whatever, ever since Kirby Smart's gotten there, has become more of a force. And then you had some LSU, obviously national championship there. But, not like an Ole Miss is winning a national championship, or a Tennessee or whatnot. But the difference, I would say, is being a 14-team league, you have two consistent, really, really good programs that are winning national championships. And then you have more teams. It's 14 versus, in the Big 12 being at, 10 teams, and now it's at 14, but they have a little bit more of quality towards the top. I mean, the upper half is good. I mean, you look at Tennessee has been pretty solid over the last 3 or 4 years with Heupel being there. LSU, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, LSU is not bad. They're 9-3. Lane Kiffin's got Ole Miss playing well. When you start just looking at the top 5 teams that finished this year, I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss, LSU, you look at those 5, they're going to beat probably, if you match them up against the Big Ten's top 5 teams, they'll probably win 3 or 4 of those games. And now at the very bottom, Vanderbilt is not that good. And so Mississippi State's not good. Oh, Eric. Oh,
I got you.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got Vanderbilt, and you've got some really bad teams in Arkansas and whatnot. But I just think that there's in the upper third of the SEC, there are 2 really, really, really good programs, but then you have some good programs that will win you 9-10 games a year, and it might not be anyone consistent. Florida will pop up a year. Tennessee's been a little bit more consistent. I just think you have, when you look at the top 5 of the SEC, and now especially once you add Oklahoma and Texas, the top 6 in the SEC would go head to head against the Big Ten in any other conference and probably win most of those games.
I feel like we've seen that in the Big 12 too, with Oklahoma and Texas, being are consistent. Maybe not. I mean, definitely not at the level of Alabama and Georgia, but then the other teams you're mentioning, Tennessee, Ole Miss, whatever. Yeah, they're playing well right now, or decent right now, but they've not been doing that consistently. And I feel like we've had Texas Tech with Michael Crabtree and Mike Leach, who were top 5 in the country at times. OSU almost played in a national title game in 2011. They were a missed field goal away in Ames from going to a national championship game. Like we've seen other teams in our own conferences be just as good as these Ole Misses and Tennessees.
I mean, I guess if you put those 5, I mean, would you feel comfortable in saying that you would think that, the top 5 in the Big 12 minus OU and Texas would win? Or even OU and Texas going against Alabama and Georgia, and then the other 3, who do you think?
TCU last year, yeah, exactly. I mean, but without having done any research on this, I would bet you, and I might sound like an idiot because we can definitely look this up. If we look up the last 10 football seasons, I bet you Oklahoma State, as much as I hate them, is right there. In terms of wins and losses as a Tennessee.
Wins and losses are totally different when you're playing against different level of competition. I mean, I really think the SEC will be a step up and is a step up for anyone that wants to go play in it. I think it's going to be tougher. It really will
step
be.
up because of the fan bases and how big most of those stadiums are compared to other places.
The level of players
Not really.
that you're getting. Are you kidding
They
me?
look more talented because they get their ass kicked by the best teams. I think if you compare that example, right, 1 second. If you put the top 5 in the Big 12 as it's constructed today, because technically OU and Texas aren't there right now. So you put OU and Texas versus Bama and Georgia. Probably the SEC wins those matchups because those are just 2 very dominant teams and they have been for a while now. But if you take the next 3, whoever it is in the Big 12, and take the next 3 in the SEC, you'll have 3 very good games that the Big 12 has a very good shot at winning. You look at teams every year. I mean, LSU, you could probably argue, is one of those top 5 teams in the SEC, and I think any given day they can drop it. They can drop a game. They got ran by FSU, who apparently isn't good enough to be in the college football playoffs. 2 years in a row, LSU can lose games. Look at Missouri.
Oklahoma and Texas go play Georgia and Alabama, whatever. Either one. You've got Oklahoma State, Iowa State, and Kansas State. Okay, so do you think Oklahoma State's beaten? Technically, they finished second in the conference. I mean, do you think they're beating Missouri?
No.
I don't see why not.
Come on.
Not right now they wouldn't, but I think in years past they can. I'm just saying it's not.
I think also the quality of players at the top 5 are totally different than what the Big 12 is recruiting at. I mean, Tennessee, they can land 5 stars. How many 5 stars has Oklahoma State landed? I don't think they've ever landed one.
Yeah, but how's that translated on the field?
It's translated on the field when you have
Yeah.
better athletes. I mean, that's why Oklahoma's wanting to go to the SEC is because we're able to recruit at a higher level.
I think what
I'm not
Jeff
saying
put
that's
here.
wrong.
I think what Jeff put here. If you do the last 10 years of play, I agree with what he's saying. It's very balanced. There's no reason that the Big 12 can't win these games.
Especially K-State over most of the last decade.
K-State's had some good
This
teams.
year was a
Iowa
down year
State
for
has
them.
had some good teams. Baylor has been good. They took Jalen Hurts and the Sooners that went to the playoff. They were beating them 20-3 in Waco. Like these teams aren't. I don't know. It's top heavy.
Yeah, I think there's going to be an adjustment that Oklahoma and Texas will have to go through, and I think they'll do fine. But I do think it will be tough. And I mean obviously it is very top heavy, but I think the quality is in the top third is there as well.
This year, but that's really it. Or maybe this year and a couple others. But like, I don't know, man. We've seen a Texas Tech team be 5 in the country with Crabtree. We've seen
that's 20 years ago. Yeah, okay. You have one.
Actually, I think the ACC had a winning record against the SEC this year, and I don't think anyone could argue that the ACC was nearly as good of a conference this year as the SEC.
I mean, at the end of the day, I guess at the end of the day that's what happened. But I just still, I mean, so are you guys telling me that when Oklahoma goes to the SEC, we should have no trouble at all? Nothing.
I think Josh Pate put it the best.
They're going to do well.
Oklahoma and Texas are going to go in there and be a top 5 or 6 team in the conference from the moment they walk in, because that's just how it works. After maybe Team 5, after Team 5, you don't really look at anyone in that conference like, man, they could beat anyone in the country. Year in and year out, whoever that brand is.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a difference.
You think Kentucky could go in?
Exactly. I don't think Kentucky or Auburn is going to be anything different than what we've seen.
I think Auburn might be a little bit of a different situation because they're actually pretty good. They've just sucked over the last handful of years.
They were 5-7 this season.
Yeah, handful of years, including this one. But like you go back, Auburn really isn't typically terrible. But then you have the SEC. What's been working for the SEC is when teams come out of nowhere, they're competing against 2 of the best in the country. You don't really ever. That's why the Big 12 has had issues, because Oklahoma has really been the only dominant team over the last decade or so. Texas has its roller coaster of a program as of late, and maybe it's turning around for them. Then you've got, unless they beat Oklahoma, they suck over the last decade because of how good it's been. And most teams don't beat Oklahoma like that, but they have quality losses in the SEC because they lose to Alabama and Georgia, and that one-off team that is having a really good year. I think you can look at next year and be like, yeah, Ole Miss is going to be that one-off team that's going to have a really, really good 2024. But who knows what they're going to be in 2025?
Maybe so. I certainly hope I'm not wrong. Now, Brandon, I don't think you were on when Jose and I gave a prediction for next year's schedule. What's your? I mean, at the end of the day, will you guys say that the SEC is better than the Big 12? I mean, do you not think that this is a step up for Oklahoma? But at the end of the day, the Big 12 could beat anyone else.
No, I think it's up because clearly we're going to go compete against the 2 best every year. We're going to compete against either Saban or Kirby every year.
Yeah, and then you've got LSU that can come in and win a national championship, and then you've got Auburn that could win a national championship. You don't look at Texas Tech and think, oh, they could win a national championship, do you?
No, but I think you look at Kansas State and think, man, that's a really good team. Maybe not win a national championship, but you really don't think that of LSU every year. They have their one-off years where they can be really competitive.
But they have the top-end capabilities to become a national championship team.
Sure, they do. They recruit better. I'll give you that. Recruiting-wise, they beat everyone. But on the field-wise, it's a different story.
And that's what makes the SEC so much harder is you've got two consistent teams, and then you've got at least 5 or 6 right now that could truly become a national championship team in any given year. And that's what makes the SEC hard and why it's good.
I think we're 9-3 or 10-2 next year. I think you start the
Yeah, we
season
were on the
5-0.
same boat.
I think you beat Temple, you beat Houston, you beat Tulane, although they're tough. You beat Tennessee, they're tough. You beat Auburn, and then you're 5-0 without going. Then you have a bye, and you have the Texas game. That's a toss up. Whatever. I think you hammer South Carolina at home. At Ole Miss is going to be tough. You hammer Maine. I think you beat Missouri on the road, and then Alabama and LSU to finish the season. I think you get one of them, maybe both.
Yeah.
That was a good
Okay.
conversation.
Hey, and the last thing I will add, the reason why the SEC is also better is because of the top 20 classes right now that are in the 2024, 9 of them are SEC teams, not counting Oklahoma and
They
Texas.
still have to win with those assholes. A&M has a top 3 class every year, and they're dog shit every year.
Hey, 9 of the top 20 are SEC schools. Now,
they still have to win with them.
Let me give you a wild guess as how many teams are in the Big 12 that are in the top 20.
It's 1. It's Texas Tech.
No,
or top
2,
25 or 20?
Top 20. 2 of them are Oklahoma and Texas. So the Big 12 does not have a top 20 recruiting class if you don't count Oklahoma and Texas.
They have top 25. Texas Tech. I think they're like 23.
They have one top 25, and then actually then if at that point the SEC has 11 of the top 25.
Yeah.
So you have 1 versus 11. So you tell me, I'm not a wizard, but that's better.
Look, I agree that recruiting wise, it's the best conference in the country. But when it's put on the field, Brandon said it best. A&M had the best recruiting class ever and proceeded to go 5-7 the year after.
Yeah, South Carolina had a top 20 class. They're going to be horrible. A&M sucks. Florida sucks. Recruiting is super important, and we talk about it all the time in this program.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time.
We want to have the best class of all time. But we can win with these recruits. We've done it forever. A&M is top 5. They were probably top 5 every single year with Jimbo Fisher. What was their best record under Jimbo Fisher?
10.
I think
COVID
10. Year. Yeah.
10?
10-2.
That's a great
season.
Whatever. So they did it one time. And they didn't play for anything. You still have to win. You still have to have the coaches that can get it done. And they haven't. They don't. It's Alabama and Georgia and nobody else. You sprinkle in LSU, which had the greatest team probably ever assembled. You sprinkle in Cam Newton winning with Auburn. But then it's Alabama and it's Georgia. And everybody else in the conference is coattail.
And then you're bringing up Texas Tech way back 20 years ago. Well, let's throw in Florida. Let's throw in another LSU team. I mean, come on. We were talking about whenever OU was announced to go to the SEC, how excited we were. This is a step up in competition. This is good for Oklahoma. Now, all of a sudden, I'm hearing the tune of, oh, it's not going to be that different. It's not that much. Are you kidding me? I'd pick the Big 12 against the SEC. Come on. The stadiums are way bigger. Oklahoma comes in with like the 6th biggest stadium. Then you get 12 of the top 25 recruiting classes are in the SEC. You add Oklahoma, Texas, it goes to 14.
I said
not even comparable.
Earlier. The stadiums being bigger, I think, is what is the biggest difference because the fan bases are more bought in to the SEC than any other conference in college football, regardless of how shit their team is. It does not change the fact that their team can be shit.
Vanderbilt.
Well, with the exception of them. Like Ole Miss can be bad, but that fan base won't give up on that bad team. And then they can be really good, and they're going to be just as rowdy as when they were bad.
Anyway, I don't know.
It's going to be more fun to play in the SEC. We're going to go to cooler places.
Oh yeah,
Be some fun teams to play. But I don't think outside of the top 2 or 3, it's really going to be crazy. Auburn, I don't know. I bring up Auburn. I think they're dog shit, and Brum thinks they're good. I think they're horrible. That
they're going to figure it out.
yeah.
They have like one time.
And how many times has Kansas State figured it out? I'm waiting.
Kansas State has been good.
There's a difference of good and being able to win a national championship. And no
That's
team
true.
in the
But
Big 12
also,
right now, if you don't count Oklahoma and Texas, really screams at you like, oh, they could go win a national championship in 2 years or 3 years.
I agree. I think maybe the outlook of the Big 12 over the last decade or so would be different if Oklahoma had won a national championship in recent memory. Or Texas, or anyone in the conference, at least competed for one. Because, yeah, TCU was in it, but they did not compete.
Terry, I am an OU guy. I am just.
How many SEC teams do you think can win the title in the next 2 or 3 years?
Well, Alabama. Or are we counting Oklahoma and Texas?
Of course, Alabama, Georgia,
are we
Oklahoma, Texas. That's fine. Yeah, throw them in there.
Who keeps putting the balloons on my screen?
It's not me.
My hands were up.
If I knew how to do it, I would do it all the time. But
if you count Oklahoma and Texas, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's fine. Count OU and Texas because they're SEC. Yeah, they're SEC.
Alabama, teams. Georgia, OU, Texas, LSU.
Why LSU? Because you like them?
Because they're
yes, that's why. Because you like them. They just lost their Heisman quarterback.
Yeah, well, they just lost their Heisman quarterback a couple years ago for Joe Burrow, and
that nerd is the creepiest head coach of all time.
They were pretty bad for a couple of years.
He's dancing with kids, and they're not that good consistently. You just like them for some reason. So go ahead. I'm sure Auburn can too, huh?
You legitimately don't think, oh, there's no way LSU could win a national championship?
No.
Do you think any other team could win a national championship?
I think they can get there in time, but they're not winning a title in 2 years.
Yeah.
You said 2 years away.
2 years away. And then, if I were to throw in one other team, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, Ole Miss.
I don't think that's crazy. I think Ole Miss they had a great season. They should be really, really good next season. I think Ole Miss, I would agree with Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I would give you Bama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, Ole Miss.
And I think LSU.
That's because you like them.
I mean, I don't really like LSU. I think they're a talented program, and I think they can.
They lost 3 games with the best player in college football, and now he's gone. They're going to have a down year next year. Or they won't be as good as they were this season, next season. I don't see them just. I don't know.
You never know. Could Hugh Freeze get the boys rolling down there? No, I don't actually legitimately see Auburn.
He needs quarterback.
Coming back
to happen.
But you look at it. I mean, six teams in the Big 12, and not in the Big 12. 6 teams in the SEC could win a national championship in the next few years. Anyway, so
that was fun. We should do that more often.
Yeah. So anyway, what do we want to talk about
I think
next?
that's a good time to hit the like button, subscribe for that kind of riveting content. I actually had a blast, and it was somewhat civil, which is not the same as if we were in real life. And make sure to share the stream. Helps us out a ton. Let's try to get to 100. Kind of 100 today, and hopefully 200 viewers. And how many subscribers are we away from our
50.
next subscriber goal? 50.
50.
All right.
I feel like we've been sitting at the 50 number for a while. So yeah, we need y'all to help us out there a little bit.
Definitely.
We had a great live last week. I think this one's off to a good start with Brum being an LSU diehard out here.
Well, let's preview the bowl game a little bit. I think that being less than 48 hours away is some good stuff to talk about too. Um, it's obviously Oklahoma versus Arizona. OU had the pep rally today. They had their coaches. They're both new co-offensive coordinators are up doing a presser, as well as Ted Roof, even though you wouldn't know he was there because no one really cared to ask him or the players questions. They really just wanted it to be a Luttrell and Finley press conference. I don't know if you guys heard it, but it sounds like no matter who they would have interviewed, these two guys would have been the choices to be the guys for this job because of how much especially Luttrell, clearly loves being at the University of Oklahoma and any capacity he's been in. So I think that's exciting, and then we can preview into the game because that Arizona offense is very good.
It is. I think the boys will look like they're having fun. I saw them riding roller coasters. I saw them doing all sorts of fun stuff on social media. That's more important, I think. Just go out there and have fun.
Drink some Henny like they did in the Sugar Bowl.
Drink some Henny like you do in the Sugar. Yeah, just go out there and I just think they should go out there and play loosey goose.
Yeah, I mean, really, the guy I'm most concerned about. I mean, Arizona, their offense is good, so they've got a freshman quarterback and Fafita. I'm terrible with names. I think that's how you pronounce it, Fafita.
That was right.
Freshman quarterback, threw for a little over 2,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 picks. The kid's talented. And
with like a 74% completion percentage, which is absurd.
Exactly. I mean, that is ridiculous to complete that much. He doesn't run. So, it's not really going to be the mobile quarterback's going to be a threat for Oklahoma and or a problem. But I'll tell you the guy who's going to be a problem, and I'm having like Johnny Wilson flashbacks, and I know, Brandon, you'll say he sucks, is McMillan. McMillan is 80 catches, 1,242 yards, and 10 touchdowns. The guy is 6'5". He's Johnny Wilson from Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl last year. I don't know if Oklahoma has one guy that can stop him consistently. I think they're going to have to bring help over the top because at 6'5", it's just the size advantage is going to be off the charts there. The 50-50 balls, he's going to win most of them. I would think Woody Washington would probably follow him a lot. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Woody Washington's going to need a little bit of help. I mean, he is, 5'11", 5'10". And so, I mean, that's quite a size advantage. Arizona is going to put OU's defense, through the ringer and really test them. And could you imagine if Billy Bowman and or Danny Stutzman were not there? Obviously, having both of those guys playing makes you feel a lot better. I think Gentry Williams is healthy finally now, so that'll help. And as healthy as he can be, I think he's got to have some surgery after the bowl game. You certainly hope he doesn't get dinged up and miss some action during the game. But I think Oklahoma's going to have their hands full with McMillan.
Yeah, probably, but I think we're just a little deeper than we were last year. I mean, we're definitely deeper than we were last year. We're a lot better team than we were last season. But yeah, no, I agree. He's going to be a tough one to defend. He's going to require 2 to 3 man coverages, or at least a safety shading. But yeah, it's a good offense. But I think we're a pretty solid defense. We're a lot better defensively this year than the team that took on Johnny Wilson in Florida State last year, and still almost beat them.
I think this is the best offense we've played all year. And you could, Texas is probably there with them, but when you have a quarterback who didn't start for them until like game 3 or 4, might have even been further into the season, and he's put up the kind of stats he has. He's completing, as you guys said, 74% of his passes. Both of the receivers receivers. McMillan has a size advantage, but Jacob Cowing, who's a guy that we talked about a little bit last offseason because he was a transfer. Can't recall from where, but Oklahoma was definitely going after him. And I think
UTSA.
but he's talented. Both corners are UTSA. Both corners are going to be tested. If it's Woody, I would assume Woody's probably going to be on Cowing, and they're going to try to get Gentry and Kanai to match up against McMillan because they are the two bigger defensive backs, just so that they don't have to provide as much help on that side of the offense. And the tough part is Fafita. What was it? What was his name again?
Fafita? Are you talking about the quarterback?
The
Noah?
quarterback. Yeah. Noah Fafita. He can throw and run the ball. So he's the ideal dual threat quarterback and is going to be a nightmare for the linebackers and the defensive line. You've got a lot to worry about when you look at that offense and what Oklahoma has to do against them. The defensive line is going to be key to winning this game. Can you create pressure? Not even getting all the way to the quarterback, because that's been one thing that teams have game planned well against OU. And while OU hasn't been the best at finishing and getting sacks, they're good at getting in the backfield. They were one of the better ones at getting tackles for loss. So they're creating some pressure on offenses, but that is a good offensive line. You win. This is a game that's going to be one in the trenches, regardless of what the quarterbacks do. Whoever has a better and mistake-free game or less mistakes by the defensive and offensive lines is going to win this game. So it's tough to 100% say that Oklahoma is going to win, but I do like OU just a shade because of the talent that they have on defense and how good they've shown they can be. And they are rested. They're not as banged up. It's been 3 weeks, almost a month since they played their last game. So they should have their legs fully under them as much as they have since, early September. But it's not going to be an easy one.
See, I think I agree with almost everything you said, except with Noah Fafita. He's pretty one-dimensional. He's a passer. The dude, I think he had like 31 carries for 2 yards this season on the ground. So he's not very dynamic with his running ability, which I think will allow us to kind of pin our ears back, send some blitz packages at him. And he is a freshman. I think you got to get in his face, but that comes with the trenches. You gotta hit home, make him get happy feet, kind of throw the ball before he wants to, maybe make some freshman mistakes that he really hasn't been making this season. When you look at his numbers, I mean, with 5 picks and 23 touchdowns and pretty much 75% of his passes being completed, he's been very, very good passing the ball. You gotta put him under some duress. I think you can blitz a little bit. I think Arizona's a team a lot like Oklahoma this year that has some pretty decent wins. They hammered UCLA. They beat a ranked Oregon State team. They beat Washington State 44-6. They've got some good wins, but their 3 losses outside of Washington, they played Washington and lost by a touchdown. I think that's pretty respectable. Obviously, Washington's playing in a college football playoff game now. They lost to Mississippi State, who was terrible, and then they lost to USC in 3 overtimes. But Oklahoma did, I think, pretty similar things with two bad losses and some good wins. They just happen to lose one more than us. I think they're a pretty similar team this season to the 2023 Oklahoma Sooners.
So, obviously, I think Oklahoma's defense is better. I agree with both of you. I think Oklahoma's going to play better than they did in the Cheez-It Bowl on the defensive side of the ball. Oklahoma will have their hands full, but I think they will play well. Really, where I'm concerned is the offensive line. There's a lot of unknowns there. So with Arizona, they do have a couple players that can rush the passer. They've got Taylor Upshaw. He's a transfer from Michigan, came in for 1 year, his last year of eligibility, I believe, from Michigan. He has 8.5 sacks. He's a linebacker. And then the other linebacker is Jacob Manu. He's got 6.5 sacks on the year. So they've got 2 guys in the linebacker position that can both rush. Now, when you look at that Oklahoma offensive line, you've had 3 guys declared for the NFL draft. You've got Guyton's going, Rames going, and then Walter. Well, no, Walter Rouse didn't. Maybe it's only 2. Am I blanking?
I think it's just 2.
It's just 2. Guyton and Rain. So you've got 2 guys that are missing. Rouse is playing, from what I've gathered, from what I remember. Unless correct me if I'm wrong. So you've got Rouse. I assume Troy Everett. Then at center, you've got, I guess, Josh Bates, and then right guard, McCade Metwire, and then I'm guessing Jacob Sexton. We'll fill in there. I guess Troy Everett could be. It could also be Caleb Schaefer, just depending on how that goes, how the distribution goes. So Arizona can rush the passer with a couple of their linebackers. There's some new faces and some new moving pieces. Granted, Jacob Sexton's not totally brand new or, a total freshman, kind of rookie. So I think there might be a little bit of a challenge there with replacing Rain. You've got Joshua Bates coming in, who has not played really anything at the center position. Granted, he's got McCade Metwire right there to help call out and, adjust coverage, blocking and things like that. I think that's going to be a big deal because Jackson Arnold, he's extremely talented, but if he's under pressure, I don't care how good you are, you're never comfortable back there, and you can't really settle into the game. So that's where I'm mostly concerned, and I would imagine OU will be trying to run the ball early and often to get Jackson Arnold in there and settled. You did lose Caden Green. Jeff, you did point that out. Yeah, Caden Green's gone, so that's why Troy Everett is coming in. So you did lose three starters. I totally blinked there. Savion Bird's gone. Nate Anderson's gone. Granted, they both didn't play a whole lot, but you just have lost a lot of depth. So it's going to be thin.
See, I think what you just said right there was perfect. I think you just hit it on the head. I mean, earlier I was about to jump to the screen and try to fight you about your dumbass SEC takes, but I think right there you're pretty money, and that goes back to what Jose is saying too, with the game being one of the trenches. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we are starting Jackson Arnold for the very first time in his career, with the exception of the half he got to play against Brigham Young. But the weather wasn't great there. I don't think he really opened it up as much as he could have or maybe wanted to. I mean, for this game, he's gonna have the whole offense. It's his. He can let it rip, hopefully, and do all that stuff. But I mean, if I'm Arizona, they're well aware of this too, with kind of a patchwork offensive line for this game and a guy who's getting his first career start. If I'm Arizona, I am sending the dogs at him. See what he can do. See how he's gonna react to that. See how he's gonna handle that. So you're definitely gonna have to be able to protect JA, and not only that, but create some running lanes, or we're going to be in some trouble.
For sure. And Oklahoma on the wide receiver room, they did lose today. LV Bunkley Shelton to the portal, and I don't think that's overly shocking. I feel like in the beginning of the season we were talking about that if he didn't emerge this year, he would be probably a portal casualty at some point, and so no real shock there. But I mean, you still have Drake Stoops, final ride with Drake Stoops, which that's going to be, it's kind of sad to think about.
Bittersweet for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Jalil Farouk, he'll play well. Stogner's last game. Oklahoma's wide receivers will be solid, and I'll be curious to see what the rotation looks like. Do you see more of the younger guys? Do you see more Jaquez Petaway, or do they roll Brennan Thompson out there a little bit more, or is it the seniors play because this is their last game and let them roll? Drake Stoops, I think Drake Stoops goes over 100 in his last game as a Sooner, and probably catches a touchdown from Arnold. And I mean, at the end of the day,
I'd agree.
Do you guys have a score prediction, Jose? I think he's kind of hit or miss right now.
Having some Wi-Fi issues. Yeah.
Yeah, there he is. He's back. Do you have a score prediction, Brandon?
I think I'm back.
Oh, there you are.
We got you. Yeah. I'm picking the Sooners. Like, I don't know, 31-27 or something. I think it's going to be very competitive.
Oh, I think it will be too. I think it's going to be down to probably the final possession, whether Oklahoma's on offense or defense, needing to get a stop. I'm going to take Oklahoma 28-24.
So the same pretty much, just a little
Pretty
different.
much.
Yeah,
Just a little. I mean, the spread when they opened this up, Arizona was a 3-point favorite. Now it's Arizona down to 1. I think it'll be a 1-possession game. And if it's a multiple possession game either way, I'd be shocked. I mean, this is the highest ranked matchup outside of the college football playoffs in a bowl game. So it should be competitive.
It's a good one. It's a good one for sure. So if it does come down to a final possession, because I agree, I think it has that potential. Would you rather Oklahoma be protecting a lead or needing to get a touchdown drive to win?
I would rather Oklahoma. Jose said 35-31 OU. I would rather Oklahoma have to get a stop.
I agree. I'm on the same boat there.
Because they've got a freshman quarterback rolling, and we have a freshman quarterback. Our defense has experience and can create plays and cause havoc. I think I just like Oklahoma's odds to get a stop when they need it. They got to have it moment because Oklahoma has proven that they can get a stop or make the play when they had to have it this year. So, and you agree?
I agree. I mean, I think that the offense can get it done, if it comes down to that situation, but I would definitely feel more comfortable if it's, a 20-24 with 2 minutes left and Arizona is getting the ball at their, their own 20, like after a touchback or something. And it's just get a stop and win.
For sure. So, yeah, I think we all agree. I mean, Jose said 35-31. We all agree that OU gets the dub. That'd be a good way to roll into next season. I think Gavin Sawchuk will also be heavily utilized. And I guess the last thing I'll have to add, I'll be curious to see how Tolly Walker is utilized and how much does he get?
It is interesting. Yeah.
Because he's 1 foot out the door right now. The thought was if he had a landing spot, he probably would have been gone by now. And now he's coming back and practicing and playing. That one's going to be bizarre. I mean, obviously, Gavin Sawchuk's clearly number 1, but
yeah,
I almost think if you're Oklahoma, I don't know, you don't really owe him anything to give him any, meaningful reps. I'd rather give it to the guy that hasn't hit the portal yet. But
yeah, so you think we roll a little more Javante Barnes than we have all season in this bowl game?
I would think so. I think they would really want to get him some reps to, get him ready for next year because I feel like he's got to be the number 2 next year, assuming Tolly Walker's gone.
Yeah, I'd agree. It would be fun to see the young guys though too. Like you mentioned, Jaquez. I'm super high on Jaquez still. I don't know. I just play loose, have fun. At the end of the day, the game doesn't really mean anything, so
it doesn't.
You should be able to try things, have a good time. But it would be fun to cap off an 11-2 year. That would be.
Yeah, it would be a good way to roll into next year, and roll into the SEC and do that. So,
Jimmy, hell yeah, brother, fins up.
Until the Ravens come flocking and come to see you guys.
Now we're going there.
Oh yeah, they do go. You guys do go to Baltimore, and the Bills come and see you though.
Yeah, we're gonna pump them both. No big deal.
I think you guys catch 2 L's back to back.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But yeah, the fish are scared of the Ravens. So, anyway, that's all we really got. I mean, the last thing, I guess, the portal mentioned LV Bunkley Shelton is out. Davis Bevel has left. I don't know if Jose wants to pop in because that's probably his favorite player, old Bevel, if Jose can hear me. I know he's probably devastated. He probably doesn't want to hop in because he's got a tear rolling down his face. But Bevel's out, which is fine. Be interesting to see what Oklahoma does. See if they pick up someone, like a Casey Thompson, preferred walk-on or something to help fill out the depth there. And then they also picked up the offensive lineman from North Texas.
Yeah.
Fabeki.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try.
Fabeki Nwayu. Again, I'm the king of butchering everything.
He was all freshman, whatever, his freshman year. He didn't win anything this year, but I think it's a huge area of need. The more the merrier. Let them all get in there and compete.
Yeah. Yeah, Jose just had to comment on that. Good, your biggest fan, Jose. And that was Seth Luttrell's really big, first score or win, because that's his guy. Coming from North Texas, Oklahoma had the inside track there because of that.
Nuewu.
There it is, Nuewu. I'll take it. I need all the guidance I can take on pronouncing names and whatnot. So, but anyway, that's all I've got. Brandon, do you have anything else?
Is anybody going to the game? Anybody in the chat attending the game? Because me and Hose will be there, so we can get together tomorrow. Yeah, Hose is going. Yeah. We will be at the Riverwalk or whatever the hell it's called. Probably just walking around trying to find cold beer to drink tomorrow night. If anyone's out there and then sees us, come by and say hi.
Cold beer, huh? Is that you guys going to get in trouble on the Riverwalk?
I'm going to sip a Miller Lite or two.
Jose might have to be keeping an eye on you. Jacob, I'm not 100% sure right now. I have to look into that. Again, I think Oklahoma will take one or two along the defensive line. I'm not 100% sure, but I can look into that one a little bit more.
I still like the Albany kid. I haven't seen him commit anywhere yet, and I hope we get him.
Yeah.
Anton Jankak or Janjunk. Janjunk, yeah.
I don't know
I'm a big fan of his game. Although that goes against what Senior Cowboys is saying, guys no one's ever heard of. I don't think that really matters. I think we'll see.
But anyway, you made it this far. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. And you want to turn on that notification bell so you know when we go live every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Central. And we'll talk to you guys next Tuesday after an OU dub. See you guys.
Yes, sir.